What if I told you that the little star on your driver's license could be the start of a national surveillance system? Hey there, my name is Janita Maaya. Welcome to my channel. For more episodes like this, please do subscribe, do all the nice things. Let's dive in. Now, the Real ID Act was passed in 2005 after 9/11. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what 9/11 is. And it was meant, supposed to be for people, for the security of the country, of the states, right? Like, it was meant to make sure everyone is like who they say they are, generally for security purposes, right? Now, it was passed then, but it's now that the Trump administration is actually enforcing it. Now, what that means is that if you do not have the star on your driver's license or passport, you won't be able to board domestic flights, obviously, and enter into certain government buildings. Now, there's a little bit of pushback on this because some critics are saying that this is the government's way of sort of spying on them or surveilling them, because they are taking all that information, all that data. People have to go up with documents all about their private lives. So basically they're collecting all this information, and some people are not happy with that because they don't want their personal information, with the government. They would rather they keep that information to themselves, right? And the funny thing is that they're actually not forcing you to get a real ID. I don't know if you know that. It's not mandatory, but if you do not get a real ID, that means you cannot get, or you can't board domestic flights and can't get into certain government buildings. Now, if that's not pressure or coercion, then I don't know what that is, because the government is literally telling you guys, like, you need to get a real ID. And I think that it's also the government's way of trying to track down on immigrants. Like, now it's like they're fixing them, like you can get to travel. Maybe like if you're finding a way to travel, if you're finding a way around it, now you can get to do that. So I think it is a kind of connected to that. That's just my thinking. But let's watch a few clips and hear what the people have to say about this.
So if y'all don't got that real ID, just don't bring your ass to the airport, because y'all backing up. Apparently, y'all know, like, since COVID started, we were supposed to have a real ID, which is the shit with the star in the corner, and they kept on postponing it. Yesterday was the day. And so I get to the airport, an hour, and I get to Hurstfield Jackson about an hour and a half before my flight, because I'm a type B person, but I've never had a problem doing this. I might be running to my gate when it's all said and done, but baby, I like it like that, so I can just get straight on the plane. Don't gotta worry about shit else. I'm just hopping straight on the plane. And wrong. First of all, I went into my secret portal, which I thought was a secret portal. It's not a secret portal no more. In the airport, you go down the stairs, and it's like that other, like, checkpoint. That shit was filled. They said that shit was only supposed to take 8 minutes, bitch. I was standing there for an hour and missed my mother flight, and they said it was all backed up because everybody don't got their real IDs. Then, bitch, turned around and bought me another flight that was $300 for a one-way. I did it on Apple Pay. The shit didn't go through, but it came out of my bank account. How about I had to turn back around and buy a second flight? So the first flight that I had was a one-way for $200, the second one was $300, and the third one was $300, at a whopping total of $800 for the day. I'm glad that I'm glad that I already made $800 today. Oh my God, this lady just found out this stuff.
If you have any plans to travel in the United States after May 7th, then you need to pay attention, because Kristi Noem, our Secretary of Homeland Security, just announced that after May 7th, you will need a real ID to travel by air in the United States. Now, before people freak out like I did, if you have a passport and you're traveling in the United States after May 7th, that will do and be fine. But if you already have plans to travel somewhere in the United States after May 7th and you also don't have a passport, then you have to go to the DMV. Big difference between a regular old ID and the new real ID is basically they just need more information from you. Now, I'm going to be honest. Personally, I'm happy that I have a passport because I don't know where half of this stuff is. When you go to the DMV, you're going to need proof of identity and date of birth, like your birth certificate, proof of social security number, like your social security card, proof of residency, proof of name change if you got married, like your marriage certificate, and of course, you're going to have to pay between $20 and $50. And take a new picture. Kristi Noem says that this is for extra security and that to go today and not delay. And to be honest, if I didn't have a passport, I'd be freaking out because you're not giving us a lot of time here. May 7th is less than a month away. But as always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
What is a real ID? And how can you tell me my license, who is me, is no longer valid? As many of you know, the deadline to issue yourself a real ID was 2 days ago. The TSA has unfortunately pushed back the deadline again, making it non-enforceable until May 6, 2027. The Real ID was suggested by the Homeland Security Office 20 years ago, and it's this administration that's trying to enforce the Real ID as of this year. I think the biggest confusion comes with the government not really thoroughly explaining what Real ID is and why we need Real ID. Real ID Act of 2005 is an act of Congress that establishes requirements that driver's licenses and identification cards issued by U.S. states and territories must satisfy to be accepted for accessing federal government facilities, nuclear power plants, and boarding airline flights within the United States. And one might ask themselves, well, why do I need to enter a nuclear power plant? Some are suggesting that is rooted in trying to suss out migrants, suss out illegals for them not being able to issue themselves a new ID. But due to the mayhem that it was causing with many Americans saying, how is my driver's license that is literally me, that is issued by the state, all of a sudden not valid and not me? The program is kind of bogus. There's a bunch of elusiveness around it. But those of you who are freaking out that you didn't have a passport or that you do have a passport, you can still use your license until 2027.
The thing about the Real ID drama, y'all can't even really blame the people who didn't get it done. Because the government the Real ID stuff came out in like 2002, 2003. Anyone born after 1990 should have automatically got it. They should have made that the first choice, and you had to like actually say, oh no, I want a standard ID. But no, they did it the opposite. You get a standard ID and you have to ask for a Real ID. They fucked up. Y'all are coming at people saying they had so much time to do this. That's true. But it shouldn't have been an option in the first place. If it was this serious, your standard ID is no longer valid if it does not have that star in the corner. It should have never been an option not to get a Real ID when you're going to get your driver's license for the first time or going to get it renewed. This is on the people in the big buildings.
This is just a friendly reminder that the Real IDs are in fact history repeating itself, just with a spin on it, so you don't know history is repeating itself. You have to have a Real ID in order to travel through the airport, even within the country that you live. Gee, what the hell are you talking about? If they made other people have stars on their IDs, it would be a repeating of this. And they can't just blatantly repeat this. We all know what fucking happened. But what they can do is insist that their citizens do it so we can identify the citizens, which is why I've had a problem with Real ID from the very beginning. I thought it was a stupid ass thing. If I have my passport but I don't have Real ID, like that's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. And I realize it's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard because it's some Nazi shit. It's some literally where the fuck are your papers ass shit. But again, not the same way. I think Real IDs are incredibly bogus. A regressive governmental overreach for this witch campaign so that they can scapegoat migrants. At this point, I'd rather live next to a gang member than a Trump supporter.
You don't need a Real ID to board a flight, or at least that is what people are saying now that this article has been circulating the internet and social media, but the deadline was not actually pushed back. The deadline has not been extended. It is May 7th, which was yesterday. There have been multiple articles that have confirmed that the deadline was and still is May 7th, aka yesterday. Even TSA has said multiple times that May 7th is the last day, and they have not posted a new article since this was released on April 11th. Now, the reason why so many people are confused and they're believing the original article that I showed is because you can use your passport if you do not have a Real ID. Another reason why this has become even more confusing is because there are articles stating that you can still travel domestically on a flight without a Real ID. However, you will have to go through extensive security measures, so not just the regular TSA line. And they're also recommending that if you do not have a Real ID and that you have to go through these additional security measures to get to the airport at least 3 hours before your domestic flight. Now, all of this can be avoided if you just travel with your Real ID or your passport. So if you have not gotten your Real ID yet, it is not too late. You can still go to the DMV and go pick up one, but keep this in mind when you are traveling on your next flight.
Okay, so I believe that these videos have actually shed more light on this Real ID issue. And if you are an American watching me right now, do you have your Real ID, or am I just blabbing right here? But yeah, let me know if you guys are getting your Real IDs. Like, are there issues with the lines to get your Real IDs and whatnot? I mean, we've seen those things happen. I will say for my country, for the longest time, a passport was the form of identification, and then if you didn't have a passport, you were just a Ugandan. Then they rolled out national IDs, and then it was a whole thing. I actually remember doing an intern with the with the organization in charge of national IDs. Good times, fun times. Appreciate them. It was a character building type of situation, but loved it over there. Can't complain. So we had that going, and then now the people when it rolled out, the national IDs are now expiring. So for people like me who got them, I think I was in high school. I was in S5, S6. That's like a level. I don't know what Americans call it. Is it college? No, college is university. That's high school. I don't know what you guys would call it. But yeah. So yeah, I guess each country has its own issues going on. But let me know what you think in the comment section. And we're rolling out more videos like this. So let me know your take on this. Is this more interesting? You can just let me know in the comment section. Do all the nice things, like, comment, subscribe, everything. Okay, check out my website, johnnytamaya.com. You'll see that I help people move to Uganda. I help people relocate to Uganda. I guide people on their relocation process. That's what I do. So please make sure you support by getting us some merch. Uganda looks good on me. Uganda is calling, so I must go. Which was made for you, by the way. I hope you know that, because I'm already in Uganda. Where am I going? But yeah, I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.